while we like queue up the next two, let's double back on this question. What are the biggest challenges businesses face when integrating with Magento, and how can they be mitigated? And I would even say integrating with any flexible
Anything, yeah.
e-commerce system. What does that look like?
So I think one of the biggest challenges with that is, do you have the correct development team to help integrate the solutions together? So it could be maybe you've already had an ERP and now you're looking to grow and bring an e-commerce solution. Do you have in-house the right people to do the integration? Or do you need to go out to market and find a partner that can bring that in? And even when you're asking a partner, like we do in so many of our conversations, are they the right partner to get the job? I've worked with clients that have been working on something similar to that for a couple of years, and it's failed every time. And it's coming down to the point of, man, we can't find the right partner to develop what we need to come into the solution. So a lot of it is asking questions and making sure that you have the right partner or the right internal team to integrate those data points.
Absolutely. 100% agree on that analysis. Definitely great insight there. So going into our next one, which I'm definitely excited to hear what you think about this, QuickBooks versus Xero. And these have Xero has come in as QuickBooks's competitor, right? They've kind of like come into this space and saying like all of the things that everyone's like, oh, QuickBooks, they've kind of come in and tried to strengthen things like user-friendly interface, integration capabilities, while QuickBooks has kind of owned this space forever. You start a business, you get QuickBooks. It's just kind of known to even people outside of the software space. It's been the incumbent in there so long that Xero has kind of come in to be a competitor. So this is really head to head, two very similar systems when looking at how to handle very small financial management. Would you agree?
I would agree. Yep.
And something yeah, you go ahead.
But I would say, to the point of them trying to be a competitor, I think Xero pushed really hard right before QuickBooks became QuickBooks Online, and
Yeah.
Xero was that first one. And then now things have changed up a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So definitely two to very much consider. I would also say I know QuickBooks wants to be, but they are not an ERP. They really want to be, coming into the space and being very sophisticated in ERP functionalities. And who knows, maybe one day they will get there. We can't tell the
I
future.
can't tell,
But
no.
right now, we need to look at QuickBooks for financial management only, right? There's other things you can add, but they spend a lot of money on marketing. It's our job to tell you the truth, right? So we're
Yep.
just here to drop the hard truth bombs up in here. So a few things to consider here. So one big thing about user limitations, QuickBooks has user limits on their pricing plans. Xero is unlimited users. Again, kind of coming in to look at that. Pricing, Xero has tried to offer more affordable price plans compared to QuickBooks. But again, QuickBooks has a bit more advanced accounting features. So definitely something to consider. Both platforms integrate. Xero has been noted to be easier to integrate. But again, QuickBooks does go across a lot of integrations as well. So anything to add to those kind of key differences?
I think some of it is just a lot of the navigation inside the system. To me personally, I think QuickBooks is easier to use than Xero. And then I'll talk to other people and they think the other way around. And I think it's, whatever you're used to. I like using some of the reporting features in QuickBooks better than what Xero has. But again, it kind of just depends what you want. Xero came out as the first cloud solution for small businesses, and when you were kind of get started, and then QuickBooks was slowly following suit on that. And so I think they grabbed some market share in the beginning and are slowly getting that, but it's still growing and trying to, in my opinion, kind of catch up. But this is one where I'd be curious to know what people think of, if we took a poll, do you prefer QuickBooks over Xero, and why?
Yeah, I mean, for me, answering the full while I have the mic over here, no, right? So I think I would go Xero. I think QuickBooks has just done a whole of bad management when it comes to client services. And of course, they are great for some things, but they really have had a hard time. And that's something that they just have to overcome, that perception in the marketplace. And that's going to take some time and some work on
Yeah.
their end. So that would be my vote. I think the people in here are like, does someone have to win every round? Which, yes, we are in a tournament here. There's winners and losers. That's how life works. I don't know if you can tie in March Madness. That's going way too far into my sports
Yes.
knowledge. I am an IT nerd, so I don't know about that. So sorry. And then we do have a question for businesses planning to switch accounting software kind of in the future. Which platform makes the most sense for data migration and exporting kind of financial reporting? Which one would you say you would pick?
Oh gosh, it depends because there's certain parts that when you're trying to get data out of these solutions, it's very difficult to then move
Mhm.
from to an ERP solution. I've had people within QuickBooks and they have bill of materials in there that they've created, and it's almost virtually impossible to get those data points out of there and into an ERP. I think Xero is a tiny bit easier just because they started out cloud structure. And I don't know, QuickBooks Online, there's all I hear is, and again, would really have to ask a developer on this
Yeah.
point of I've heard that just the table structure of how QuickBooks Online is built is a little different. But again, that part I don't know the development side as well, but I would be curious to know just on the coding side of things. But
Yeah.
what I've seen so far is Xero is a little bit easier to get the data points out, and usually it's just exporting to a CSV, and then whatever ERP you're using, they will have various tools and tables that you would load those data points into.
Yeah, and I just love that question because that's what you should be asking, right? When you're going through these things are important to me. Don't go into demos and let the vendor tell you what's important to you, right? Because they're trying to show you their system. You need to decide what your requirements are before you even look at that. And so when you come to someone like Christy and you say, "Hey, data migration, I'm really worried about that. I'm concerned about that. We have a very data heavy business. X, Y, and Z," then you can really run down those answers, and Christy and team can help garner those for you. So
Mhm.
I love that question. Great question. Keep them coming. All right, you got to pick one: Xero or QuickBooks.
This is hard because I like both of them. Do you want to be my tie decider? You
No,
like
no,
Xero.
I'm not taking that on. You have to pick. You have to do it.
I think just because of my level of comfortability, we're gonna have to go QuickBooks on this
Okay.
one. Yep.
Okay. I think that's probably the right thing to do. Yeah, definitely. Don't. I'm glad you didn't take. Yeah, I'm glad you weren't influenced by my biases. So, all right. All right, so we are halfway through. We're going to keep moving through these. So we've got our first, second round of winners done. We've got NetSuite, we've got Shopify, we've got Sage, and we've got QuickBooks. So congratulations to bracket one, round one winners. We will go through all four of those next week, head to head. All right, moving on to bracket two. We have SAP Business One versus Workday. Another very interesting kind of head to head. SAP Business One is SAP's, small to medium sized business solution, including those financial, sales, inventory management. While Workday has been an HCM, human capital management system historically, it does have great financial management offers, and it definitely has the ability to scale. So if you have a lot of people management components, Workday could be a very good option for you. Anything to add to those two overviews?
I think sometimes with small businesses, they think they need a HCM solution like a Workday right
Mhm.
out of the gate. And in the beginning, you can get by with just utilizing the payroll company that you're using. Because I've had that question asked a lot of like, hey, do I need to be able to manage everything about my employees? And maybe they only have 10 or 20 employees. And it's like, no, we can easily do that all through the payroll solution. And then looking at SAP Business One, this one comes up a lot just because people are familiar with the SAP
Mhm.
name.
Mhm.
Doesn't mean that you're getting the same experience or the same software on their smaller solution. And it's something that we've seen over the last couple of years that they aren't really putting that much R&D into this
Right.
solution, and eventually will probably be sunset maybe in
Yeah.
some capacity, but I don't see that it really is growing into the great ERP that it once was.
Yeah, it's a really interesting because this because SAP Business One has really been an incumbent in this marketplace for a long time. There's specific even consultancies that only focus in SAP Business One. That's how, well known it is in the industry. And you have the whole other side where Workday has been incredibly successful HCM, but it's moved into more of an ERP space. It's added research and development, it's added AI components to come across the business as opposed to just HR. So kind of moving in different directions, if
Yeah.
you will, in the industry. So they both have so key differences, you know, is SAP Business One really looks at those small to medium sized integrate or businesses, and then Workday usually is in larger businesses, focusing in HR and financial management. Industry focus, there's not really one here. They could go across any industry, but definitely a different journey for each one of those systems.
Yep.
So when it comes to, I'll let the audience do some questions here on this. Do you think SAP B1 is young enough to compete with an athlete like Workday? Wow, they're getting like spicy. I love your live streams. You have the funniest audience.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. I don't see that it can really,
Yeah.
because I mean, you look at so many of the reports even in Business One, and they're PDFs. They're not drill down
Yeah.
functionality. You're like, all right, now we're getting back to our Great Plains days where
Let
we
me
can
get my glasses. Yeah.
do everything that we need to do. So I don't see it really keeping up with all of the new technology out there. And again, who knows, would it ever be able to even have AI in it? If
Yeah,
it's so old and it can't keep up
absolutely.
with different solutions like this, and that's where the world is going.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's so much focus on SAP S/4HANA. Like we know that's like a huge industry issue right now. Adam said, or would they blow an ACL? Which I love IT jokes.
Love it.
Yeah. So with that said, who are you going to choose? SAP
You got to
Business
go Workday for sure.
Work